No amount of determination and grit in a waif of a woman could counter the sheer force of the storm. When the rains came, colluding with the wind to churn the sea and whip the boat furiously about, she had no choice but to lower the sails. She huddled beneath them, intent on riding out the storm. She didn't know how long she stayed there, wet and cold at the base of the mast while the boat rolled and heaved. When the waves topped the gunwales and poured inside, she set one hand to bailing and held on for dear life with the other. Then, with an ominous crack, the mast split in two, and her fear approached panic. The boat listed toward where the broken mast lay, drawing in water so quickly that bailing was absurd. Grabbing the cushion on which she'd been kneeling, she barely had time to thread her arms through its straps when a fierce wave knocked her to the floorboards. She felt a stab of pain, but it was forgotten in the next instant when, with a terrifying yawing sound, the boat reared up and arched over. Summer was thrown clear. She sank in the chilly North Atlantic, emerging seconds later, gasping and frantic. The hull of the boat lurched in the waves not far from her. She tried to reach it, but was beaten back, coughing again and again, until, as though taking pity on her, the sea gave her a backhanded toss toward the sloop. She hit the wooden hull with a cruel thud. Ignoring a cutting pain, she hauled herself up on the keel. There she lay, with her head pressed to the wet wood, while the rain pelted her and the wind and the waves dared her to ease her hold for so much as a second. That was all it would take, she knew. 1 second, and she'd be lost. Hold on, Summer. Hold on. She thought of the ponies in the meadow. She thought of the small cabin nearby, where her mother had raised her and where she still lived. She thought of the harpsichord and her flute and the small pipe she'd carved of reed, and she played the sweet music in her mind so that she wouldn't have to hear the roar of the wind and the waves. Inevitably, she weakened. Her limbs grew numb from the cold and the strain of holding on, and the pain in her head and side worsened until breathing was an effort. Dizzy, she lost her grip. She clawed at the keel and regained it, but no sooner was she atop the boat when she felt herself slipping again. This time the world went white and silent. When she came to, the buoyant cushion was gone. She was flailing her way to the surface, then gasping for air, and her boat was nowhere in sight. She whirled around in the water but couldn't see it. She opened her mouth to cry out her anguish, only to have it filled with water before any sound emerged. She sank and surfaced choking, unable to get enough air. Then something touched her. Too defined to be a whale or a dolphin. It flattened itself to her back, grasped her waist, and hauled her to the surface. "Breathe," it yelled. She fought first against the arm that restrained her, then when she realized the arm wouldn't drag her under again for air. The yelling went on, the voice male and strong. "That's it. A little at a time. You'll be all right now. You're safe." His legs worked behind her, holding their heads above the waves. "My boat," she sputtered. "Gone," he yelled. Shifting her to his back, he fastened her arms around his neck. "You'll have to hold on. Can you do that?" She nodded against his head, suspecting that it was less a case of holding on as being unable to let go now that her arms were in place. More numb than ever, she lay limply while he began to swim. Thoughts came in spurts. How could he keep them afloat? How could he make progress against the sea? How did he know where to go? Where was his boat? She faded in and out, aware 1 minute, unaware the next. She knew she was trembling, but the sensation was distant. In fact, everything felt distant, even now, the danger. She didn't know how he did it, but her rescuer was moving them steadily through the waves. He kept swimming without tiring, his body exuding equal amounts of purpose and strength. Totally depleted of the latter, Summer had no choice but to put her fate in his hands.